Welcome to the sit down presented by Visa. Andi Petrillo alongside national team goalkeeper Dayne St. Clair. Dayne, I don't know if you know this, but everyone makes fun of me because I always call myself the unofficial president of the non-existent goalie hugger group. Goalies can do no wrong in my eyes. So as far as I'm concerned, this is already a perfect interview. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. The GK union's always taking on people, so welcome in.
So there you go. All right. Well, firstly, before we even get to national team stuff, I have to ask about how things are going professionally. Minnesota off to a 2-0-1 start. How are things feeling so far with the season? Like even heading into it when preseason was happening, just how does this group feel overall?
Yeah, I think we felt very good. Obviously, we were able to have a full preseason under Eric, and obviously he joined a little bit later last season. So to be able to have that and to return a lot of the players, of course, made a lot of signings in the summer. So to kind of have a full preseason together, I think was enjoyable for us, and we were able to work on a lot of things that we wanted to focus on in the season. And one of those things was keeping a good defensive shape. And I think throughout our first three games, we've really done that. Obviously, only conceding one goal, but we know that we can, from that shape, be very crucial on the counter attack as well. So it's not just a defensive shape, but one that we know that we can succeed attacking as well.
And when it comes to defense, we know the goalkeeper is the last man standing. You're entering your sixth season now with the club since being drafted. What would you say are even the biggest differences in your game from Dayne St. Clair 6 years ago to now?
Obviously, my first season, I kind of went on loan to USL League One, and then my second season, I went on loan to the USL in San Antonio. So I think I was able to get some success and confidence there in order to build and work on some of the things in my game. And then coming in during that 2020 season, I felt like things were going well, and I think for the team things progressed well. And then of course I've had a little bit of a roller coaster in between then, but I feel like last year especially I think was my most consistent year, and coming into this year I know I can build upon that still. So I think I'm just looking forward to continue to grow.
How do you manage that as a goalkeeper? I'm always interested in the psychology of it all, right? Because there are times you go in, and even though maybe you're playing the role of the backup that time, you're always still training like you're going to be the number one. Or if you are going in as the number one, kind of that mentality of keeping that position. Just what are some of the things that you do if there's like some sort of internal dialogue as well to make sure that you're ready for every single opportunity that presents itself to you?
Yeah, I think it's always training like you are the number one, and having that mentality to be the number one. Because in our position, it's not like the 70th minute you're going to get subbed on to get some fresh legs out there. So if it is a sub, it's normally an injury during the game, which of course you never want that to happen
Yeah.
to your other goalie. But you always have to kind of have the mentality that you're always prepared to go in, and then just competing for the spot and showing every day in training that you're capable, because you might never know when you do get the opportunity. Like I think in when I got my opportunity in 2022, when I started off the season as the backup, our goalie ended up getting food poisoning, and I found out the day of the game that I was going to play, and I think I had my best game of the season that game. So I think it's always just kind of having the mentality that you're prepared and ready to go in, but then if your name isn't called, just being that support role, and
Mhm.
still because you want the team to succeed. So it's always a team first mentality and how best you can support the team.
Were you near his food? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But you know what? Even when it comes to the national team, so we can apply that there. There's a real good battle. I mean, obviously, there's a friendly competition going on even between you and Max Crepeau, because it's not just set in stone, right? Milan Borjan is no longer right the number one with the team, and it's not like, oh, hey, we're just going to hand it to so and so, right? Like it seems like Jesse Marsh is giving both of you a real good opportunity here to show your stuff. Just how does that make you feel knowing that you have this chance?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a lot different than club, because normally there's a set number one. But I think for both of us, it's nice that we know that we're going to get a fair opportunity at it. And he was open and honest from day one with us that it was going to be a ongoing competition, and that just because one guy played one game doesn't mean that you're not going to get an opportunity in the near future. So I think for us, of course, we have a lot of respect for each other, and we push each other because we both want our name on the team sheet, but I think we also have a great relationship that when the other guy's name is called, that we both support each other. But I think when your number isn't called, you're definitely pushing to make sure your number is called, and then when your number does get called, you're trying to create that gap so that it continues to get called. So I think our relationship off the field definitely helps with that, and I think both of us definitely want the team to do well. So obviously we don't pick who plays in the game, because I think both of us would definitely pick ourselves to go in every single time. But we also have that relationship with each other that if the other person's name's called, that we're still supporting them and seeing whatever they need to be prepared going into the match.
This seems like a great group, obviously. A lot of the core here has been together for many, many years. And here you are once again with an opportunity to go for a trophy in CONCACAF Nations League finals. We're just a couple weeks away now. And Jesse Marsh just speaking to the media and saying it's the strongest team that he feels Canada has ever had. How are you feeling right now with this chance to win a trophy? How's the group feeling? I don't know, like what kind of, if anyone's on a group text or what kind of dialogue you guys are having with each other in preparation for this.
Yeah, I think obviously it's nice that we've played a lot of these opponents pretty recently as well, so we're familiar with them. And like you said, it's 2 games away from a trophy, and of course we need to focus on the first game first and take care of business there. But we're 2 games away from a trophy, and I think it's been a while since we've been that close. Probably the last Nations League we were that close, but we've had a taste for it and lost in those big games. But I think we have confidence in order that we've had good performances against all these teams that we could potentially go up against. So I think we're building in confidence there, and the team is definitely strong. And I think it's been a little while since the group's been together, so I know we're all excited to be back together with our friends and family.
Do you guys talk trophy at all? I mean, is that just us in the media, trophy, 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 and you guys are one game at a time? I'm just curious if you allow yourselves to say that.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's definitely in the forefront. I think our main goal is definitely the World Cup, but anytime you're in a competition, you play to win. So of course we want to win the trophy, but I think we know that whether we do win the trophy or not, that we have bigger goals in the expectation and near future, just with the World Cup being right there in the horizon.
Well, first up for you in that CONCACAF Nations League, we know is going to be Mexico, to your point. I mean, everyone remembers Azteca, and even as recently as back in September, that was a goalless draw and a very spicy affair. And we know that Mexican fans, just like Canadian fans, but Mexican fans really travel well, 70,000 seat stadium. We know it's probably going to be a lot of Mexican fans in there. But given, even like the last World Cup and other games that you've played in, do you also feel because it's a factor, right? The nerves. Sometimes you walk out and go, "Oh my goodness," right? Like, do you feel like you can handle that better?
Yeah, I think even throughout the Gold Cup, those experiences there, we know that Copa America, most of our
Mm-hmm.
games, even though they were based in the U.S., felt like away games with the amount of fan support for the other teams. And so we've been in that situation many times before. And of course, we wish that we were the home team in these situations, but I don't think it's something that we're afraid of. We're aware of our reality, and I think we've done well and thrived. And a lot of us kind of thrive in those situations as well, of feeding off of those fans, even though they're not necessarily cheering for us, but to be able to kind of have those energy shifts and hear the crowd quiet during certain moments, or hearing them yell at you. I think a lot of us feed off of that energy.
How do you block it out? Because I mean, as field players, I'm sure they hear stuff, but they're running around. Goalkeeper, you're not moving. Like you are right there, and those fans are just right behind you, constantly screaming stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're like singing a song in your head or kind of what you got going on, but like, how do you blank them out?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always kind of focused on whether it's our rest defense, or organizing defensively when we don't have the ball. So I think I'm so in tune with what's going on the field, that it becomes kind of just a background noise and crowd jitter, or so you don't
Mhm.
necessarily don't really fully hear. And I think in a stadium like SoFi with the NFL stadiums, the fans are actually little bit further back than compared to some of these MLS stadiums. So you hear noise, of course, and it's going to be loud in there, but you necessarily don't hear the specifics always.
Whew, goalkeepers, you guys have thick skin, that's for sure. I'm curious to know how this team, the national team that is, how it's developed in all the years that you've been on it as well. Like, what are just even some of the things you've noticed that's that's changed, whether it's the skill on the pitch or maybe it's the way you guys are off the pitch together? Just how has this team kind of evolved over the years?
I think we've matured. Of course, we had a lot of younger core players, and still do. But I think a lot of those players have matured into gone into newer roles now with this new cycle. And I think we've been in those moments now, so we have a little bit of the experience in those. So we're not as naive, and I think we kind of thrive in some of those moments. And you always know that when you look to your right or left or behind or in front of you, that the guy beside you is willing to work just as hard with you, and that brotherhood I think is still there. And just we've been able to kind of play to our strengths and really have a clear tactical plan, I think.
When it comes to your defense as well, I mean, probably the two center backs, right? That's the position that's changed greatly since the Qatar World Cup, and now you have Moise Bombito, who's pretty much a staple there. Derek Cornelius as well, who's there. What is your communication like? Like, how do you like to communicate with your defense? Whether it's the two of them, or if it's Alphonso Davies, Alistair Johnson, Richie Larea, whoever ends up getting in there. Just what do you like as far as communication?
Yeah, I think as much it is on the field, it's also building the relationships off the field or in training, talking during those water breaks and things like that, so you can really establish the expectations, so they know what I expect from them, and I'm hearing their feedback of what they expect from me in those moments. So that way, obviously, the game can be chaotic at times, but if we have a good foundation and know the basis of what the expectations are from each other, that we can kind of use those and rely on those. And of course, we're gonna still communicate while the game's going on, but we at least have a framework and know what to expect from each other.
Well, as you know, your coach recently made headlines, and now all of Canada has most definitely adopted him. If they didn't think that he was bathing himself in maple syrup before, I think they believe it now, just given his comments as well, and kind of rallying around the Canadian flag. And we know that Canada USA on the pitch, right? Like that's always been a rivalry since the beginning of time. Firstly, how did you guys react to what he said? And, did it make you want to run through a brick wall?
Yeah, I think we probably reacted the same way other Canadians felt. That we all kind of felt the same way, and I think he answered the question perfectly and responded in a way that a lot of us feel and maybe didn't have the opportunity to speak on it. But I think he basically spoke for majority, if not all, Canadians, and how we felt towards those comments.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because I'm just curious if you've spoken to even any players on the American team, because I'm sure maybe some of them are like, oh my goodness, we just want to play soccer, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't spoken to any of them. Of course, I've spoken to a few of my teammates here, but none that play for the U.S.
Hmm. All right. Well, here we are. We're getting ready for this really big tournament. Wishing you all the best, and we look forward to just seeing great things that you continue to do, both at the professional and national team level. So it's been great having Dayne St. Clair, national team goalkeeper, here on the Sit Down, presented by Visa.